Finished up the top part of the motor. I went ahead and adjusted all the valves and put the valve covers back on and new O-rings. I also adjusted the cam chain while it was here. And that's for a different video, specifically for the 550. The next thing I'm going to do is actually drain the oil in this thing, and I'm not even sure if it has oil in it or not. We're going to find out. It may have drained it already. If you haven't drained the oil, that would be probably one of the first things you should do. All right, so there's our oil filter housing. It's a little dirty in there. We'll get that cleaned. And I'm not going to put it back on until the engine's in the bike, because you have to take it off to clear the frame. So, all right, that's the side right there, at least for the oil filter. Let's attempt to drain the oil pan. It's going to be interesting here on this stand, but we're going to give it a try. I'll move that out of the way. Okay, oil has been drained out of the motor here, and the next thing I'm going to do is take off the clutch cover, and we're going to do an inspection to make sure everything looks good in there. We're going to need the impact driver again, and our brass hammer, and a couple different lengths bits. We're going to have to swap them out as we work our way across, and then we'll also be changing the gasket out as well. Just like that. Last one, moment of truth. So all these like Honda covers and cases and stuff have alignment dowels to keep everything lined up. There we go. Gonna have to wiggle them off. And there's my my clutch cover. My gasket's all torn up. We're gonna replace it. I'm gonna get this cleaned out. There's a little bit of, sort of point it out to you guys in the camera. You can see there's definitely some sludge and debris here in the bottom of the cover. So we're gonna get that all washed out. Just kind of getting this whole thing clean and giving it a good look over to see if there's anything that looks strange or odd or out of place. You're going to be replacing the clutch. Now's a good time to do it because we obviously have access to the clutch. But for now, I'm going to leave this one in place. We're just going to run it, see what happens. If we have to change it, we can always change it on the bike. All right, so got a cover clean. You guys can see that there. Got all the crap off the old gasket material. Washed it in the parts washer. I have this thing ready to go back on. Before we do that, I'm going to swap out this seal right here since it's off and easy to access. Just so you guys know, on the 550, there's another seal right in here. It typically doesn't go bad, but I'm not going to change it. I'm just going to change this one for the kickstart lever. And these seals just kind of pop out pretty easy. I'm going to do a trick that I like to do when I mess with side covers on these engines. Now, what we saw when we took this off originally, the gasket tears and makes a mess. And I like to be able to take the covers on and off easily and hopefully reuse the gasket a couple times before I change it. So I'm just taking some white lithium grease here. And all I'm going to do is where this gasket sits on the edge here, is I'm going to put a little layer of white grease here. Not only does it help seal the gasket, but it's kind of like greasing up a frying pan, that when you go to take off the gasket in the future, it releases clean and hopefully doesn't tear, and then maybe you get a couple more cycles out of it before you have to replace it. All right, gasket surface is lubed up. We had a couple alignment dowels. Put a dab of oil right here on the shaft. There we go. Right in place like it's supposed to be. Cool. All right, now it's time to start putting our bolts in. Cool, that's done. Drop in the dipstick for now on this bike. And All right, we're gonna flip the motor over and do the oil pan next. All right, here's our oil pan. 550s have an oil pan, so we're gonna take it off and clean it out. Yeah, so we got a good bit of sludge in here. Look at that, you can see how it's kind of caked into the cracks of the cooling fins. So yeah, there's even a leaf in here. Look at that. So it's what I expected. Everything's kind of collected in the bottom, which at least is good. So we can get this cleaned out. Here is our pickup screen right here. And we can actually remove it if we're really careful about it. It slides on out. But overall, it doesn't look too bad in here at all. Glad to see that. We can probably shine a flashlight in there and get a better view. All right, we're back, and I went ahead and got this area of the motor cleaned up. I got my oil pan all washed and cleaned up. Same thing with the pickup screen here, and then the bolts as well. I'm going to go ahead and put a new gasket here on the pan and bolt it up. All right, my filter goes in here, and this is the feedback line that needs to be hooked up. So kind of do it at the same time. And before I actually put the pan on, I'm going to take a little bit of oil in my pumper can and kind of spray it on the gears and on the chain here, just as good measure. I don't know how lube they really are. All right, I'm just going to put anti-seize in the rest of my bolts and put them all in. And get this button down. All right, so all the bolts are in. I got anti-seize on them, and now I'm going to tighten them up in a crisscross pattern like we've been doing in the past. I'm going to start with these middle two bolts and then work my way out to the outer bolts here. 8, 9, 10, like that. All right, oil pan is on and cleaned out. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to flip the motor back up, and we're going to look at the oil pump. So one of the last things we're going to do on this engine is we're going to actually take off the oil pump and take a look in there and clean it out. On the 550, it's this externally mounted pump, so we're getting to it last. On the twins, the 350s, 360s, 450s, it's going to be mounted under the right side cover. So I do recommend you take the pump out, clean it, inspect it, make sure it's good, and put it back on. And then once we're done with the pump, we're going to crack open this stator cover here, just do a quick inspection on it, and put some new bolts in it and put it back on. And then we'll get this all cleaned up, and we'll get it ready to put back in the bike. I already hit the bolts with some PB Blaster, and I'm going to see if I can just crack them all loose. 1, 2, 3 down here gets the pump off the engine, and these 3 actually take the cover off the pump. So we're going to go ahead and break these 3 loose first. There's the oil pump right there. There is a gasket here, here, and here. I'm not going to mess with them quite yet, not until we get this taken apart here. All right, I'll wash this up. Looks good overall, and we'll pop it back on. Okay, so went ahead and cleaned out the oil kind of passage cavity here on the engine block. I got the oil pump housing, all the bits cleaned up, and the oil pump. And we're just going to go ahead and start reassembling this thing so we can actually use it. I'm going to use a little bit of our engine assembly lube and a little bit of oil here in the pump. Remember, I have my little dot facing out. The little star drive also has a dot on it. It should also be facing out, and I'm going to try to do my best to line it up. Swapping out the Phillips we took out for some Allen heads that are stainless steel. 3, go back around again. 1, 2, 3, that felt great. All right, oil pump is on. Okay, our last piece we're going to do on the engine is going to be take off this stator cover here and take a look what's underneath. So I'm just going to take the hammer, the impact driver, crack it open. Okay, there is the stator coil. Looks like they had a little bit of moisture in here, but not too bad. Okay, so everything looked really good under the stator cover here, or the rotor cover here. We're just going to put a fresh gasket on here and replace the bolts. And on this gasket, I'm going to go on dry with it. So I'm just going to pop it in place here. Proper lined up, just like that. Cool. Last piece is changing our bolts out to stainless steel, like we've done before. And of course, say it with me, anti-seize compound. And 4. That's it. So our motor's buttoned up. We've gone through it, and it's ready to go on the bike. One thing we're going to do for you guys is have a downloadable checklist so you guys can follow along in your own engine, inspection go-through thing if you find yourself in the same situation with your own bike. Again, this is Brendan with Common Motor, common-motor.com on the internet. Make sure you follow us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, subscribe to our newsletter through our website, and of course, subscribe to us right here on YouTube. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time.